Okay, so with Wolverine on the way and coming out at some point this year, there are a lot of things that I feel like myself and many people out there really want Insomniac to get 100% right with this game. It's a little late, obviously, to make some suggestions. I don't know how much they can really change at this point, considering it's coming out this year, and we're probably going to be seeing some more of it really soon. But this is more so just my thoughts on what I really hope that Insomniac gets right with Marvel's Wolverine. I even tweeted about this a little while back, and even though there were a lot of weird replies, there were plenty of people who provided some honest feedback and some things that they really want Insomniac to get right with this game. The first thing being you guys scrolling down and hitting the thumbs up button and getting the video to like 1,000 likes. But okay, let's get into the actual list now. First up, I mean, I know this doesn't seem like it's a major one, but honestly, for someone like myself who's a fan of Wolverine and was a fan of what Insomniac did with the Spider-Man games, they really gotta nail the alternate suit selection. Again, this might seem inconsequential, but it really does add a lot of replayability for myself, and I imagine a lot of you guys out there, when you have a really good selection of alternate costumes for your character. It obviously very much helped with Marvel's Spider-Man. I mean, hell, they were adding suits to that game when each new MCU movie was coming out. There were tons of updates for that game, and it had me coming back to it. And sadly, we didn't have that many new suits in Spider-Man 2, where there were a lot of returning suits, but even then, when they brought in a batch of older suits from the last game, it had me wanting to jump back in. So I'm really hoping that with Wolverine, we get a solid selection of costumes to choose from. I even made a video about my wish list of costumes I want to see in this game. Really hoping that most of those make the list. And then next up, you know, while we're talking about replayability, I mean, we're on the subject here. I need story missions to be replayable on day one. This was something that I don't think we had in the first Spider-Man game. Then we had it in Spider-Man Miles Morales. And then for some reason, when Spider-Man 2 came out, it wasn't a day one feature. So I'm hoping that with Wolverine, especially considering it's not going to be open world, but rather like a semi-open world sort of thing, more linear at least, you know, we gotta have the option to replay some of these story missions. There's very clearly going to be some epic set pieces. We fight a freaking Sentinel in the game, and there may be some missions where it's just like, I have to play that again. It was so cool. So please, Insomniac, do not wait to have this be a future update post-launch. Let's get day one replayable missions. And you know, this is a pretty generic one, but honestly, I feel like I agree with a lot of the community when they say this as well, is this was one of the things that plenty of people mentioned when I tweeted out what people think that the Wolverine game needs. And that's just a good story. If you want to replay missions, you're hoping that those missions are exciting and that the writing is excellent. So while this is something that we kind of can only just hope for, again, I am crossing my fingers that Insomniac is going to deliver a really awesome story here for the character of Wolverine. Me personally, I haven't been disappointed by any of the stories they've had for any of the Spider-Man games. I think they've all been pretty great. And the fact that Wolverine is not just going to be in one static location, the fact that we're going to be visiting all these different areas around the world that are very deeply personal to the character of Wolverine, it has me very much looking forward to seeing what Insomniac's going to pull off here. So yeah, a good story. Again, a generic thing to put on this list, but we all really hope that they have a good one nonetheless. And you know, there's going to be these semi-open worlds that are going to be in this game. At least that's what's been reported by Jeff Grubb, and it looks like there's going to be some form of exploration based on what we've seen in that gameplay trailer. So I'm hoping that there is good depth to that exploration. I'm hoping that there's some side things you can look after, some collectibles that we can find in some of these semi-open worlds. Because when you have like this empty, barren area to just roam around in and do nothing, it can get a little boring. It'd be like the equivalent of like you guys not subscribing and turning on the notifications for all things Marvel's Wolverine on this channel. Like, what are we even doing here, right? So when we get to explore these different areas, whether it's Madripoor or the Canadian wilderness, I'm hoping that there's enough of it that we can explore that's worthwhile, or at least worth wanting to go back to. And now for me personally, I really do love when you have Wolverine going up against those large scale enemies. Always having that David versus Goliath scenario with a character like Wolverine, because he's our short king. It does a lot for the character in increasing his badassness, if you will. So the fact that we're going to be going toe-to-toe against a Sentinel, which we have already seen, that leads credence to what I am hoping for out of this game, in that I want some large-scale boss battles. A Sentinel is definitely a great direction to start in, but also I want to see what they're going to do with Omega Red. You gotta have like Sabretooth in the game too, and I always want it to be something that is on a grand scale, something that feels epic, something that feels grandiose, that really works for a character like Wolverine. And I mean, of course, these boss battles, they gotta be pretty violent too. We know they're going for the M rating here, but in my villain wish list, I also wanted them to add the Wendigo into the game. We're going to the Canadian wilderness. I feel like it's a perfect opportunity to do something like that. And I mean, I think we're all dreaming of a boss battle in this game for Wolverine to go toe-to-toe against the Hulk. It would be so sick if Insomniac did something like that. But in general, large-scale boss battles, I feel, is a must for this game. And when I tweeted out and asked the community what they want Insomniac to get right with Marvel's Wolverine, it was pretty much a unanimous answer for a lot of people to reply and say that they just want the gameplay to be good. And I couldn't agree more. Gameplay, gameplay, gameplay. That at the end of the day is what has you coming back and playing a game over and over and over again. You know, a lot of people have reached out and told me that they might not necessarily love the story in Spider-Man 2, but the gameplay is so good that it keeps them coming back. And that is, at the end of the day, what keeps you playing a game. If the gameplay sucks, but the story is amazing, maybe you'll play through it once, but I don't know if it's something you want to pick up the controller and come back to. From what we have seen, I trust that Insomniac is going to do a great job with the gameplay in Wolverine. I just hope there is some depth to it and not just me smashing the controller. Don't get me wrong, hack and slashes are cool, but I do want there to be a little bit of depth here for Wolverine. And then finally, the last thing on my list, this is really a personal one. Maybe some people out there are not going to agree because they might want this to be just a Wolverine story, but I have kind of had enough of Insomniac Marvel games where we don't see the greater Marvel universe in action. There's just slight little Easter eggs in Spider-Man 1 about the Avengers are out there somewhere on the West Coast, or in Spider-Man 2 you get this little note from Wong. But Wolverine is so intrinsically tied to the X-Men that I feel like it would be crazy to not introduce some X-Men characters in this game. I know we got Mystique in there, that's cool and all, but she's more on like the villain side of things. I'm talking about the team of X-Men. Like, how cool would it be if there was a moment in the game where you cross paths with Cyclops? Or if like at the end of the game, we got Professor X speaking to you in your mind like, hey, come back to the X-Mansion or something like that. I don't even think we know officially at what point Logan is in his life and whether or not he's a part of the X-Men at this point in time in the game. But I do really hope that we get some sort of introduction to some proper X-Men characters part of the X-Men team. For Spider-Man, it totally makes sense that they want it to be a Spider-Man story and that we don't see Iron Man swoop in to help him or something like that, right? But for Wolverine, you gotta have some X-Men in there. It makes too much sense. At least, again, for me personally. Maybe you're gonna disagree, and to be honest, maybe you're gonna disagree with this whole list, but that's the beauty of videos like this. Now you guys get to sound off in the comments below with your thoughts. What do you think Insomniac needs to get right with Marvel's Wolverine? Don't get weird, okay? There were a lot of really weird people in the replies on my Twitter post about it. Let's just all be civilized for just this one time for the comment section. Sound off your thoughts in the comments. I've been Caboose. I'll see you guys later.